Tipp today in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp Today, coming to you live from Nina this morning. Coming up on the show, Johnny Luby will talk to us in a little while. MEP Cynthia Ní Mhurchú will be with us in just a few moments' time. Joe McGrath will share a poem that he wrote about 28 years ago about the great characters of the town of Cashel. Looking forward to that. John Hally, a regular contributor to the show, will look back on the Corpus Christi processions that were once a very cherished tradition in rural Ireland. Our Friday panel will unpack the big topics of the week. So all of that and lots more stories and memories and conversations along the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com, and of course you can speak to Leanne for free. That free phone number 1800 938 007. Now we have that great competition for you, and that's in association with Mr. Menswear Cashel and Care. We have a €200 voucher to give away today, but we're looking for a finalist, and we'll do that in the first hour. So if you want to get involved and if you want to become the final finalist, all you have to do is text or WhatsApp Mr. along with your name and your details to 083 311 3311. That's 083 311 3311. We'll choose the final finalist in this hour, and then in the final hour of the programme we will give away that €200 voucher. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers today. The Irish Times, the main story there. Rusal, the company that owns the County Limerick industrial plant, Ohanish Alumina, continues to be controlled by sanctioned Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska. That's according to a confidential report by a Swedish tax authority. Also on the Times today, US companies have disclosed billions of euro in tax payments to the Republic for the first time, and that's casting new light on the government's increasing reliance on enormous cash revenues from big tech and pharma groups as well. Also reading on the Times today that Ireland is being taken to the EU's highest court for failing to stop illegal peat extractions. Let's have a look at the Irish Independent, and the lead story on the Indo today. Medical negligence claims have cost the state almost $1.8 billion over the past 5 years, with lawyer and expert witness fees rising. The Irish Daily Mail, and they're leading with the story that the Rotunda Hospital has defended its position on subverting government policy to allow private care in the public-only hospital on foot of a major HSE investigation into consultants. Now, the hospital, they're saying its priority remains the ongoing provision of safe and dignified care for women, whether public or private. And finally, we have a look at the Irish Examiner, and the lead story on the Examiner today: the record-breaking temperatures experienced in Ireland last month would not have been possible without human-caused climate change, says experts, warning that we are now pushing the boundaries of what was previously considered possible. And also reading on the Examiner today that the three young people accused of murdering a Cork postman acted as a team and left him with catastrophic golf club injuries to his face and head, the prosecution in their trial claimed, and that is ongoing. So that's a look at what's making headlines on some of your newspapers today. Do you want to make comment on any of that? And if so, 083 311 3311. Now, Fianna Fáil MEP for the South, Cynthia Ní Mhurchú, has this week engaged with European Transport Safety Council to explore what strategies other EU countries are employing to help reduce road deaths in their jurisdictions. And Cynthia joins me now. Good morning to you, Cynthia.
Dear Rick Fan, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak about this really important topic.
Well, it's always good to talk to you. You're making the point that Ireland, not the worst country in the EU when it comes to road death, but we're way behind several others.
We are, Fran. Unfortunately, we're way behind Denmark, Norway and Sweden, and much and all of you and me and your listeners will be interested in hearing comparatives between us and other countries in the EU, because we will learn from that data and we'll learn from what they're doing. Really, I suppose what people are concerned about listening to this now is their friends, their relations, their loved ones that they've lost, or that they know in the parish that somebody has been lost to a road traffic accident. And unfortunately, as you know, Fran, because you cover it regularly and listeners listen to the news regularly, the total road fatalities in Ireland since even 2021, say, to the last set of figures we have for 2025, it's only going in one direction. It's way too high. And even in the 6 months of this year alone, we're at a higher level of deaths than we saw in the 6 months by comparison with last year. And then if you look back at last weekend, the bank holiday, which is always, we see a spike and we hear about a spike in deaths. We unfortunately lost 3 people. There was a motorcyclist in County Louth, there was another gentleman in County Roscommon, a single car vehicle crash, and then there was a very young man who lost his life in Finglas in Dublin in the early hours of Saturday morning of the bank holiday weekend. So there's 3 more to add, and these are not just statistics. First of all, they're human beings, they're loved ones, they leave behind families, and they leave behind devastation, most of it lasting for a very, very long time. So in some cases, a lifetime if you've lost a dear loved partner and a soulmate. And I suppose from the point of view then of the taxpayer, Fran, because I'm paid by the taxpayer to think about the cost of everything, and we have a cost of living crisis, there is a huge cost to the state and on the state, i.e. the taxpayer, in relation to road deaths. I don't need to, I suppose, list them off, but we're talking about emergency services, we're talking about the health services, we're talking about the court services, etc., etc. So all of that, it places a heavy price on the taxpayer and on the system.
And what is going wrong out there? Because it appears since COVID, the numbers are on the rise. And last year, as you say, a particularly bad year. What's going wrong out there, do you think, Cynthia?
I think overall, in a nutshell, and it's not one simple answer, but I'm just going to give you this as one of the many answers, as opposed to short-circuited, Fran. I think basically because of our catching up on Garda Síochána presence on the roads and policing units on the roads, I think for some years, unfortunately, the presence of Garda Síochána couldn't be deployed because simply the resources and the numbers weren't there. Thankfully, the current Minister for Justice has been building that up since he first put his feet under the table in the Department of Justice. But I think people got used to the idea of getting away with it. I will not be detected, because they knew and they saw the lack of presence of Garda Síochána on the roads and the lack of checkpoints and so forth. Now, thankfully, much of that has been reversed. But of course, then, Fran, we've had the increased population. So we have to keep driving up our recruitment drive in Templemore and elsewhere to train our Gardaí. And I do know, and I do keep an eye on the figures that Minister O'Callaghan releases, it's going well. Yes, I think more people are being attracted in, more people are coming out, and now the key thing is, Fran, from what I'm reading and what I'm hearing, that we need to retain the newly qualified guards. And they are, most of them are being retained, but we want to make sure that we don't lose any of them after the training up. But really, why I met with the European Transport Safety Council, I've been trying to meet them for a good while, but I eventually caught up with them before the bank holiday weekend, because I wanted to find out and hear from the horse's mouth what had they witnessed in other countries. And they told me quite a number of initiatives that have been successful in other countries around Europe, and indeed they mentioned Canada and other countries, and America as well. But there were 6 points that I put out in my press release that I thought we could look at. And again, I can give you the list, but each one of them actually would require a good bit of explaining, because I think most reasonable minded people listening who want to be safe on the roads and they want to drive safely and make sure that they don't involve another vehicle in a crash, they want to tune into what more can we do. And the first thing that I suggested was an average speed camera on our road network. So I looked at Finland. They have 1,100 speed cameras. Sweden has 2,500. That's 2,500. In Ireland, we have 14. That's 14. We do have a target to roll out another 20 per year, but I haven't seen dates and times on that schedule. So that's not filling me with a huge amount of hope.
That's where cameras measure your average speed over a period on the motorway. Is that it?
Yes, we've all experienced it, I take it, or some of us have. I travel around the constituency, and as you're nearing Cork or Limerick, there's the average speed cameras, or indeed I think around Galway as well.
Yeah, there's one going into Limerick from Nina.
Exactly. Exactly, and it measures it. So we're back to the tech, and sticking with the tech then, camera portals for citizen video. This came up in my conversation with the European Transport Safety Council. So if we look at countries like the UK, that country, our nearest neighbour, they allow road users to upload the dash cam or the cycling camera footage of dangerous driving or an accident or an injury. And they can do so directly to a police portal. It's called Operation Snap, and it leads routinely to direct prosecutions. So instead what we have, Fran, is, and you've heard it and your listeners have heard it, is that when the news bulletins go out reporting an accident, like 3 of them that happened, unfortunately, last weekend, at the end of it, the Garda press statement says, we're calling upon the public to send in or send to us or contact your Garda station with any dash cam footage that you might have of it. But in actual fact, we should speed up that. And if anybody has dash cam, they should be able to do it. We're not all digitally literate, and I mean, I'm challenged at the best of times now, Fran. But can I say that, most people would actually welcome this, and they would be delighted to know, here's my dash cam footage. Of course, it would have to be authenticated, and there are mechanisms to do that. And we don't want anybody willy-nilly sending in footage that is not authenticated and is not true. But this has been road tested in the UK, and it's been proven to be successful. And another one, sticking with the tech, again, is automated mobile phone and seatbelt cameras. So we spoke about the Netherlands and France. I spoke about those 2 countries with the European Transport Safety Council, and they deploy AI-assisted overhead cameras. Again, it's overhead. They automatically detect whether a driver is holding a mobile phone or failing to wear a seatbelt, and that generated automatic fines. Now, of course, there are checks and balances, Fran. Of course, the tech may go wrong. We all know that, but that's why we've got district court judges sitting.
But there's all sorts of
areas.
There's privacy issues around this as well, as I'm sure you know. And I would imagine there would have to be a lot of legislation to make it okay to go forward with some of these ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah. But do you know something? There's always a competing balancing of rights when it comes to privacy, and I do agree with you. I know all about GDPR because I used to be a lawyer and I had to have my own policy with regards to clients' private files and so forth. So in this instance, though, Fran, if we are going to save lives, and we talk about the human tragic loss, and then I've spoken about the loss to the taxpayer, I do think we have to deploy all the best legal brains around the GDPR concerns and say, well, look, sometimes we've got to tip it in favour of, and if it goes too far in favour of, as you say, perhaps encroaching on GDPR, well, then there should be a right of redress to come back on that. But the other thing was the default 30 kilometre per hour urban zones. Now, I know this is controversial in Ireland. I do drive all
very controversial here in Tipperary over the last couple of years.
No, very.
Well. Yeah,
I know that. But this came up at my meeting with the European Transport Safety Council. And they did say, look, it's working. It's working in countries like Spain. And what they did was, now I'll just go back to Ireland again, some Irish local authorities, they've introduced those zones in distinct neighbourhoods. And they haven't gone down very well. People haven't accepted them, that they're appropriate in that particular district. But in countries like Spain, they implemented a blanket one. So they used the same measurement for all the districts. So nobody felt they were singled out.
And are you advocating for that as opposed to an autonomy with a local authority? Are you advocating for a blanket 30k?
I think one size doesn't fit all. What I'm raising is ideas. Yeah. I am not a road safety engineer expert, but what I do know is that people want to get more value for the tax that they're paying in the country. And I am trying to, as a member of the Transport Committee, road safety is a key cornerstone for me of this particular committee. And I'm going out of my way to make these suggestions based on the European experience because that's my responsibility. Yes. I am learning from my MEPs and the countries that are on it and what they're doing. So, Fran, when you say to me, would you advocate for this? Would you introduce this if you were? I don't really deal in supposition, but I tell you what, I really want our minister, our civil servants, and I've written and I've suggested this, would you please do the research, look at Spain, look at where it is working and decide, well, actually, would that work in our distinct urban district areas in Ireland? Sure. Maybe it wouldn't, but I would like this considered. And the other thing was...
I beg your pardon, but just before you go on, the technology is very, very interesting and is well worth debate, I think, but there's some simple stuff that's going on out there. The condition of some of our roads, for example, particularly our rural roads, and even the cutting back of ditches and the like as well, where it's very hard to get out onto main roads and have full view. And there's a lot of very basic stuff, is there not?
I agree. And this is where we do need to give back the authority and the decision-making power to the local county council. And can I say as well, the county councillors, colleagues of mine and colleagues of other political parties, who actually not only sit on the county council, but they meet with constituents day in, day out, every hour of the day, and they talk to all of their constituents to find out where is the worst overgrown road, uneven road, the camber is broken up, there are potholes, there are ruts at the side of the road, there's dangerous bends, etc., etc. And there was a particular instance, not in County Tipperary, but in my own home county, where there was an extremely dangerous bend on a road in particular, and unfortunately there were many fatalities on it, Fran, and because the decision making was coming from central government, it took years to rectify. Thankfully it's rectified now, but not without the loss of several lives, particularly young persons. So I would be advocating, I'll tell you asked me about would you advocate for something. I'll tell you what I definitely advocate for: more powers and more decision making to be given to the local county councils, because I'm around long enough to know about the urban councils before they were done away with. And now we have the county councils, and it seems with the death knell on the urban district councils that powers were absolutely drained from the county councillors.
Well, that's for sure. But even here in Tipperary, I mean, there's a lot of confusion. We've covered this a few times here. Always confusion over who is responsibility for the ditches and the cutting back, for example, whether it's the farmer or whether it's the householder or whether it's the local authority. Just simple stuff like that, just to get rid of the confusion.
Too centralised and too many layers and too much red tape. And I don't know, Fran, whether you saw Prime Time about 2 weeks ago, in light of the road safety issues, there was a lady called Sinead O'Sullivan on it, and I looked at her website, and again I consulted what she was working on before I issued the press release. So she's with stoproaddeath.ie, and on Prime Time about 2 weeks ago she publicly called for one body, back to our one body that you've just suggested there, to be given responsibility for road death figures. And Miriam O'Callaghan, I think, who was interviewing the Minister, Kenny, Junior Minister of Transport, Miriam asked the Minister, who is responsible Minister at the end of the day, because this lady, Miss Sinead O'Sullivan, was saying that currently there were 6 bodies with some responsibility for road safety and road deaths in particular, but there was no group or individual with the budget and with absolute responsibility to reduce the number of road deaths. So the whole question was, who has the budget and the responsibility, and who can we look to if the numbers are going in the wrong direction? Now, the Minister Minister Kenny obviously said, I am responsible, I'm ultimately responsible for this. But I think the point was well made by Miss Sinead O'Sullivan, and the question really is, why are there 6 bodies passing it from Billy to Jack and shuffling it around? This is not good enough. Again, I go back to when we have the human tragedy and we have the economic loss. It's just not good enough. The other thing, Fran, sorry, I was going to jump in and remind you that you and I have spoken before about alcolocks for repeat drink driving offenders.
Would you just remind listeners of that again, what exactly that is?
Yes, it's an alcoholic lock, a lock on your car. So in several countries, and again, the European Road Safety Council, they reminded me of this. France, Belgium, Denmark, they utilise mandatory alcohol interlock systems. They call them alcolocks, and they're fitted to vehicles. They're not quite like the old locks that we used to put in our steering wheels decades ago when we didn't want our car stolen. They look a bit different, but these require the driver to blow into a breathalyzer before the driver will be able to engage or ignite the engine, start the engine. So the driver can't start the engine unless he blows into it. You blow into it, and if obviously the breathalyzer detects that you are over the limit, the car won't start. And they're frequently used as mandatory. Now, there's no choice for the offender. If you're a repeat offender, there's a mandatory obligation on the judge in some of these countries that I mentioned, as part of the conditions laid down with the sentence. This is part of the rehabilitation condition, that they have to have this fitted to their car if they are allowed to get back on the road again.
I'm conscious that you have a time that you need to get off at this morning. Can I just ask you about the whole business of the curfew as well? Because you brought that up, and of course there's difficulties around that, to have a curfew for young people with the end plate up, because they might well be working at night. midnight and the like. So how do you get around that?
Absolutely. And in fact, unfortunately, my press release was selectively edited by one particular media outlet, and it came across as they only repeated what I was calling for was a consideration of stricter nighttime curfews for novice drivers. But they omitted the important bit at the end of the sentence, which was unless, now this was between midnight and 5 a.m. Now, it was novice drivers, not a particular age group. So you could be somebody who's 55 learning to drive or 45. But unless was important, unless you're commuting for work or unless there's an emergency or unless there's other extenuating circumstances. So, of course, novice drivers should be entitled to drive at any time. But in the case of novice drivers, and this is not new to suggest this, in the case of novice drivers, unfortunately, the data from the Road Safety Authority has shown to us that there's an overwhelming amount of fatalities, a disproportionately high level and a clustering of drivers and passenger deaths amongst the 16 to 25-year-olds during weekend nights. Now, this has been rolled out, Fran. This is not a new idea about a graduated driving licence system where there are curfews, save for work, save for emergencies and so forth, for inexperienced drivers. So I looked at Europe, but it seems to be rolled out more in Canada, and I work on the EU-Canada delegation, country delegation, so I tapped into that. And then in Ontario, I should say, drivers with a Class G1 licence, which is a novice licence, they can't drive between midnight and 5 a.m. And in Quebec, the learner licence holders are restricted from driving between midnight and 5 a.m. unless it's for work. Of course, young people have to work with the cost of living crisis and trying to pay college fees, unless there's an emergency. And again, it seems to be very prevalent in Australia and New Zealand and in the United States as well. And also, we know that novice drivers or learner drivers, they're not supposed to drive unsupervised. You're supposed to have your co-driver with you in the car who's got a full licence and so forth. So the rules simply should be, we should be avoiding the unsupervision and we should be avoiding novice drivers, whatever age they are, between certain times, because the data tells us that is the clustering of disproportionate high level of accidents. So those people are involved in accidents, particularly over the weekends, the data tells us.
Could I ask you, just before I let you go, you recently missed out on a place on the European Parliament's Agricultural Committee. Do you believe, Cynthia, that Ireland South now is adequately represented on Agri? I know you're hopeful of securing some sort of substitute position, but particularly with all that's going to be happening with farming and CAP and stuff in the coming months and years, are you concerned about that?
Yes, I am concerned. I'm always concerned because I like to think that I'm working hard for all the voters that I have, and a particular cohort of voters are the farming community and the farming associated industry, and it's very, very agricultural intensive in Ireland South. So that's why I contested that particular election to get a full seat. MEP Maluli won the seat in the end, and there are two substitute seats. So there's a difference, Fran, in terminology only, if truth be told. So there is a full seat, they call it, and also a substitute seat. The good news is that there are two substitute seats now that have to be filled, and I'm still canvassing, Fran. Yeah. I'm adamant that I hope to get one of those sub-seats, because I do think it's really important with the CAP negotiations. I work quite closely off the committee with my colleague MEP Cowan, who's excellent, who's an expert at this, but he is in a different constituency, and I want to make sure that the Ireland South constituency is around that table, albeit at a sub. And if I don't succeed, I am entitled as an MEP to go to any Agri meeting, and I do intend. I've done that with fishing, the PESH committee, and I do intend to do it with Agri as well, especially with the CAP negotiations going on, especially with the MFF negotiations, and of course Ireland's presidency from July to December. We
promised to get you out before 9:30. Thanks for your time this morning, Cynthia. Thank you.
Gurmila
Fran. Cynthia Ní Mhurchú speaking to us. I will take a break. Johnny Luby is on the way.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tip today in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
A big response to that conversation there with Cynthia Ní Mhurchú, and I will bring you some of that a little later on. But now it's time for Johnny Luby. Good morning, Johnny. How are you?
Fine. How's it going?
The going has never been better, Johnny, says he. And yourself, you're doing well there on the Fourpenny Road.
Well, I'm sitting down after listening to Cynthia Ní Mhurchú, whatever her name is.
Yes.
I'm really confused over the whole thing. So we know everything that she said.
Yeah.
She's been up there talking about Canada, about what they do in Spain and what the whole bloody lot, and they bring in some kind of a thing for that you blow into some kind of a thing before you take off in the car.
That's right. Well, that's only for people who might have been done for drink driving, and then to start their car they'd have to blow into this thing, yeah.
But come here a minute. Just say that I had 4 or 5 pints.
Yes.
And that I saw you just say going into a pub. And I called you over, friend, is there any chance you'd blow into that from me? So you blow in, and of course you had no drink, so
only you would come up with that. I'm sure there's some way to mitigate against that. I don't know.
You see, all these things are fine, but will they work? I mean, like she's talking about having extra Gardaí out on the beat and having extra Gardaí here.
Well, it's mainly technology, more technology. She's looking for out in the roads. And in fairness, many of the people on this morning agreeing and saying we need to do something. We need to have these conversations around it, I suppose.
Well, yes, certainly, but hey, anyway, look, the best of luck for that's what I say. Because and cutting back ditches, and you're dead right, friend. Who is responsible?
Who is responsible? That comes up all the time, Johnny. Yeah.
Is it the council, or is it the landowner, or is it Europe, or can you touch the ditches if the birds are hatching eggs or hatching chickens or whatever?
Yeah, well, if an accident happens because of it, you'd find out fairly soon then who has jurisdiction over who's responsible. But anyway, I don't know. The Munster Senior Hurling Final this weekend, Johnny.
Yes, friend. The glamour competition in Munster. Again, as I often say, Munster is worth 10 million to the GA, so they'll never do away with the rivalry between the 5 counties. Is massive what they bring to the table. And of course, the Munster final, I think it's on Sunday at 2:00. Now, I thought to be getting a prime slot at 4:00, and indeed many other people thought the same thing. But it's the glamour competition, Limerick and Cork, and there'll be 45,000 there. We didn't even smell a ticket, let alone see one, for to go to that match on Sunday. I was talking to a Cork man and indeed a Limerick man. They told me to bring their youngsters. It was 35 or 40 euro to the final. And I said if they went to the Leinster final, they get 20,000 freebies, 20,000 free tickets to go to the Leinster final for under 14s.
It's amazing.
But it's amazing. It's amazing what they can do the GA when they want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's to get the atmosphere for the Leinster final tomorrow evening. Now, I don't know. Whoever wins on Sunday may not win the All-Ireland. So I don't know, would Limerick or Cork be really that busy about it? Cork possibly would more so. But I'm at the moment, I'm nodding towards Limerick to win the All-Ireland. And at the Munster final, so we'll watch it and see what happens. But I fancy Limerick for the All-Ireland.
Are you finding it very difficult to say that you fancy Limerick? Because we have the 3 L's where you're concerned.
I'm not, friend, when they're playing Cork. I'm nailing my colours to the mess. But anyway, apart from all that, with the Leinster final tomorrow evening, imagine no Tipperary around for a Munster thing, no Kilkenny around in Leinster. They were down to the last 3. It's Galway, Offaly and Dublin. And of course the Leinster final tomorrow evening is between Dublin and Galway. Now Galway are the firm favourites, and I don't know how they are that favourites, that kind of favouritism. I thought to be even your choice, because Dublin are really playing well, and they're playing a nice brand of hurling. And look, Boven Crow Park, the broad spaces will suit them to the ground. They're a very fit team, and look, the best of luck to both Then I have a couple of only euro on Dublin to win at 10-1 the Leinster final, with a fella out in the Leinster house. So I look forward to going out there collecting my few bob. But anyway,
very good. The minors, they're still in competition, aren't they? Yeah.
That's right, Jeff. And the minor hurlers are still in the All Ireland competition. They are the Munster champions. They are in the All Ireland semi-final, and they will take on Cork in that game. I don't know when it's on, but maybe very well. Possibly after the leaving cert, I don't know yet, but look, the very best of luck, they're still in competition. And of course, then you have the Tipperary play Wicklow away this weekend in the Talteen Cup. Tipp got a desperate draw in that competition. I mean, like they had to travel up to, was it Sligo, then they had to travel up to take on Antrim, and then they had to travel away to Wicklow. I mean, they got no bit of a favouritism with home venue or whatever the case may be. It will be close enough between themselves and Wicklow, and look, the best of luck to the lads that are involved in that. And of course, the Camogie, Tipperary play Waterford they beat them already in the Munster final, but now you go back into an open draw for the All-Ireland competition, and they'll find it hard enough to beat Waterford down in Waterford. But the Tipperary girls are training very hard, and look, it's exciting times for them going in as Munster champions. And I think in their group of four that they all qualify actually at the end of the day in the All-Ireland. So
fair play. Is there horse racing tonight, I think? Is there?
That's right, Jeff. Yeah, a huge evening this evening in Powerstown Park in Clonmel. It's the Bulmers evening there, and they have the barbecue, etc. There'll be a massive crowd in Clonmel this evening. So if you're going, go early and enjoy the crack. You'll meet many people there that you'd know. So it's a wonderful venue and plenty of parking and all of that. So Clonmel this evening there is the venue for that racing. And of course, then across the water, we have the Oaks today in Epsom. Ireland is well represented in that, and tomorrow then we have the Derby. Aidan O'Brien has 2 or 3 in the Derby. Possibly will be hard to beat, although the ground conditions, their horses normally like good ground, and they're after having a bit of rain in Epsom, and maybe the going will be soft. But Kevin Blake from Golden there, he's often on television. He's involved in a horse there trained by Joseph O'Brien, and the best of luck to Kevin to be marvellous.
Fair play indeed. What's happening with the greyhounds, Johnny?
The greyhounds, the English Derby final is on tomorrow night. For the first time, I think, ever in the history of the Greyhound Derby, we have 6 Irish trained greyhounds in the final. I think Liam Dowling down there in Kerry has 2 or 3 in the train, top class breeding, and that Derby is on tomorrow night in a place called Toaster, Towcester. It's just out an hour from London or whatever. And that, and of course, I must mention a man here from the Fortney Road in Golden had a nice winner himself, and the wife, Arthur and Alice Morrissey, had a grand winner at Clonmel there last weekend. And of course, Fran, just looking down, last Sunday morning I attended the swimming pool in Thurles, Fran. I don't know were you ever in there. It is some facility.
I can't swim, you see, Johnny, so it would be pointless me going in there. But do you swim? Were you swimming?
Yeah. No, I had a granddaughter competing in the under-12s, and she did marvellous altogether. And then we went to that new coffee dock. I don't know what they call it there. It is 161 or 191 or something, a top-class place.
Oh, on Liberty Square there, yeah. I'm hearing great reports about it, yeah.
And then we went to up to Thomas Sarsfield's new pitch, our new layout, where they're getting the grant for 2.4 million. Fran, it's absolutely massive, the work that's going to go on there, and the best of luck to them. The youngsters then had to run there in to the triathlon, run then about, I think it was a kilometre around the pitch, and there was a heap of youngsters and all enjoying the morning. And then they went on then to just beyond the horse track there to a farm where they competed in a cross-country run. So it was tough going last Sunday morning, I'll tell you. I was tired myself from looking at them. But, from Ballytarson National School, they present a thing called Honk, H-O-N-K.
Okay.
The Ugly Ducklings musical. It's show dates next Wednesday, the 10th of June at 11:30 and 7:30 in the evening, and Thursday at 7:30. And it's at Brew. Tickets on sale for the show and the school at the school office, 0504 41323. No, friend.
Do you want to talk about the rugby as well? Do you want to talk about the rugby, Johnny? Or
that's right.
Yeah,
friend. Munster had a disaster last weekend, which we kind of expected anyway. Leinster got over the line. They shot their hooker this evening, but they have another guy to bring on who has plenty of Irish caps. And Leinster played this weekend. Munster finished rugby now until maybe September, October. They have a huge clean out to do, or clear out, or call it what you like, just to a desperate bad season for them. Of course, we during the week, yesterday or the day before, we lost a wonderful servant to Irish sport, and especially the sport of rugby, Fergus Slattery. Yeah. He was the pin-up by their top-class flanker at numbers 6 or 7. Wonderful player in the day, played with Blackrock and won a Leinster Schools medal with them, and then came on to the Irish rugby team, then played with the British and Irish Lions on 2 or 3 occasions there in the big test matches, and our sympathies to the sporting world, and especially to the Slattery family on the death of Fergus Slattery.
For sure, indeed. Johnny, can I stop you because I have to take another break? Will you hang on for me, Johnny, and I'll be right back to you after this. Just don't go anywhere. I'll be back to you in a second.
No.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tip Today, in association with Slattery's of Puckon, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
And Johnny Luby is still with me. I think you were going to talk about Ballytorson National School there, Johnny, were you?
Yes, I've got done. They're presenting the Honk.
Oh, the Honk and Brew
musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, next Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah, at 7:30. And of course, I was going to mention John Hally, a wonderful establishment there in Clare. And imagine, I never knew it as well as I know him. He's off to be 40 years.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and of course, he picked the right date to go off for, didn't he? The 4th of July. It's a big day. It's a big day in America to the day he'll never forget. Anyway, friend, did you ever hear the Thirsty Thursday gang?
No, I didn't, but I'd love to join it.
I know, yeah. Jack Burden and Paul Kavanagh and a good few more of them. They play golf on a Thursday, whether it is in Tipperary or whether it is in Dundrum. And of course, I think they play a couple of holes, maybe 2 or 3 holes. Yes. Jack is from your old former parish, Macarthy Burris.
Yes,
of course, he was on the Tipp team. They're a wonderful guy. But anyhow, Jack is maybe around the same age as myself. But I think they play 2 or 3 holes and then they get very thirsty. And they adjourn to the bar and they give another, and their wives think that they play 18 holes, and this is confidential what I'm telling you. They play 2 or 3 and they give the next 2 hours talking about days gone by and the way that they were able to go around in a round of 68 to 70. And here they are at the bar. But anyway, I met him last night in Solihull instead of the Thirsty Thursday gang.
I think I met them at Cork Airport one time. Were they going out to play? Was it in Portugal or Spain? I can't remember which. I met a whole bunch of them on this.
Yeah, it's marvellous what they do, yeah, friend. I was in that wonderful establishment there during the week, the Radkeven Nursing Home, friend, and I met a lovely lady there. I met herself and the husband there above in some watering hole in Feathert there a while ago. And anyway, she genuinely thought, friend, that I was, when I just said to one of the girls, I said, can I get out of this place or can you beam me out or whatever they do? And she genuinely thought I was a resident and she wouldn't open the bloody door. But anyway, maybe I told her, I said, not now, maybe some other time, a long way down the line. So, friend, I'm just looking there. Hey, I hadn't an awful lot more to report. Jesus Cashel was Catherine was asking for you.
Oh, hello to Catherine. I'm glad she's well. I'm glad she's well.
Yeah, I asked her would she come on, and she said, "Jesus, no." She said, and that's it now, friend.
Do you know what I was talking to John Harney about was, the possibility of pubs open until 4:30 in the morning, or nightclubs open till 4:30 in the morning to suit the tourists coming in, because they want it to be like other European cities and towns. What do you think of that, Johnny? Opening times?
No. Out of the question completely. Jesus, what about fellas that are married and they're trying to get home and where are they going to get money anyway?
Well, it wouldn't normally stop them.
Well, the pubs, listen, all the pubs, they're doing grand as they are closing around 11 o'clock or 11:30, and that suits me to the ground and suits anybody. Imagine a fella coming to collect you on that. How can, name of God, could I come on Tipp FM and I still in Tui's or Bridge House with the new things coming in off the Rollins 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning? And now we have Johnny Luby live from the pub.
Would you go away with that? You often were out all night with fellas coming on with me then at night.
Yeah, I know I was, but Jesus, I know that John Harney is dead right. They bearing a now bit of a living between whatever time they open up. I said it to Trevor last night actually in Tyrone, that just said, would you? He said not at all. He said 4 to 11 o'clock is plenty. He said you'll make a bit of a living out of that. He said, and you'll be falling asleep. He said you'll have to get in lads then to do the work. And he said couldn't pay you. He said get double time out and all that caper. Whoever come up with that idea.
Well, I think it was for the cities mainly. It was the Licensed Vintners Association. They were talking about the cities where people come in and they expect not to be thrown out of a pub then at 12 o'clock at night or whatever. And
they haven't enough of trouble in the pubs in the cities with the hours to stay now without leaving them open till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and expecting guards and all those to police carry on. Do they expect the taxi drivers to have any bit of sleep at all? Stop trying by it. I don't know.
Somebody is telling me that this minor hurling is happening on Saturday the 13th of June, Tipperary and Cork, 2 Gaelic grounds at 2 p.m. So there you go.
Oh, my God, above tonight. Absolutely fantastic. It's fantastic for James Woodlock and the lads involved with him, and look, Clare beat us in the under-20 Munster final in a penalty shootout, and Clare went on then to win the All-Ireland last Saturday or Sunday, and heartiest congratulations to them. They beat Galway by 7 or 8 points, so we were not too far off the mark with the youngsters coming through, Fran, and we have marvellous youngsters coming through, so to make sure that they do come through, that they that's what we're lacking at the moment. We need 4 or 5 youngsters to come through. They are 20, 21 and 22 years of age, but hopefully they will, and that Tipperary will be back in the limelight again.
Hopefully so indeed. Listen, great to talk to you as always, Johnny. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. Good morning to you.
Bye, Fran. We'll be in touch. Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye. And it's the great Johnny Luby live from the Fourpenny Road, as always, on a Friday. Fran, I'm not one to agree with Cynthia Ní Mhurchú, but for once I see what she's on about. I see her thinking. I think it's so unfair and rude when parents take their children who are learners out for practice during rush hours. I leave my house plenty of time for work each morning, and on Monday I got held up for 40 minutes because of a learner driver crawling on a 100k road at 8:30 a.m. Parents need to think about other road users. People need to get to work and can't wait around for your child to learn how to use third gear. They should not be on a 100k road if they can't go faster than 30k. So somebody who's obviously very annoyed indeed. Another listener says, Fran, the issue is the shortage of driving tests. Youngsters need to get to work, so they're driving on L plates alone. They don't have the experience, and this is adding to the accidents. As somebody else says, and this is a rather controversial one indeed, Fran, I hate how nobody mentions the elderly slow drivers. They're so flipping dangerous. I saw a near accident on the Dundrum Road yesterday because the car was going so slow and it stopped suddenly. And somebody else says, and this gave me a bit of a giggle, I have to say, you know what drives me up the wall, Fran? It's those Amadons in their Audis who for some reason never learned to use their indicators. Now, why are you picking on Audis as if everybody who drives an Audi can't use indicators? Anyway, what do you think about that? 1800 938 007. somebody else is rather annoyed. The thing of the farmer at the opposite side of a hedgerow being responsible for cutting the hedgerow on the opposite side of his hedge is absolutely ludicrous. How the bleep can you be responsible for cutting the hedgerow in my property? Crazy stuff. The IFA are a spent force in the farming world, although they're extremely good at collecting annual fees from those in the farming community who continue to live in the hope that they'll actually get value for the annual payment to this organisation. It's a very angry WhatsApp into us on 083 311 3311. We're live from Nina today. News and information is on the way.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tipp Today, in association with Slattery's of Puckon, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the second hour of Tipp Today. We're broadcasting live from Nina. We have a finalist in our Mr. competition, and that's Billy Downey from Care. Well done to you, Billy. You're into the big draw in the final hour of the programme today, and that's for the €200 voucher from Mr. Menswear. And from weddings and debs to communions, confirmations and race days, Mr. has you covered with all of that, and they have two wonderful outlets in Cashel and Care. Now, this week, community activist in Clonmel, Thomas Ryan, penned a letter to members of the Clonmel Borough District to express his disappointment at the decision to award the Freedom of Clonmel to President Catherine Connolly a couple of weeks ago. And Thomas joins me now. Good morning to you, Thomas.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning to all the listeners.
Good to talk to you. Of course, I forgot, you are no longer living in Clonmel. You're in the lovely town of Care now, I think, Thomas, aren't you?
Yes, that's correct. And that's correct. I'm here since December.
Very good indeed. Tell me why you have such an issue around the awarding of Catherine Connolly with the Freedom of the Borough.
First of all, Brian, I'm going to say I have no issues with the President whatsoever. It is the offering of the Freedom of Clonmel to her in regards that the Freedom of Clonmel, it's the highest award that can be given to anyone by the members of the Borough District, the Mayor and that as well. So it's no reflection on Catherine Connolly. She's a fabulous lady. It's just that the award should be given to people who have been recognised in Clonmel for all the work they've done. The volunteers, people who put Clonmel on the map, people have spoken about the town in such high regard, and in regards that it should be something for people who, when they went out and done something good, and in that they came from the town of Clonmel and helped put Clonmel on the map.
I'm just looking back at the list, though, over the years, dating right back to 1885, and there's precedence there, Thomas, you know, for national figures and indeed international figures as well. But, you know, people like whoever it is, Charles Stewart Parnell, Gladstone was there, Countess Markovich, Eamon de Valera himself. If
you're going back to Charles Stewart Parnell, Charles Stewart Parnell is really, I think he started his transport in Clonmel, going from Hearns Hotel right across the road from where the town hall is.
Well, that's you're confusing me a little bit with Bianconi, I think. Yeah.
Sorry, Bianconi. Oh, sorry, my apologies. My apologies. Yeah, Bianconi. Get mixed up now. My history's not great today. Yeah, no. So, like, we'll say, like the likes of Stuart Parnell just said, no, they shouldn't have got it.
Do you not
and same thing De Valera.
Right.
Like, what have they done for the people of Clonmel? They've done nothing.
And
it's for people of Clonmel that should be awarded.
Should it be completely reserved, do you think, for people then who did good stuff for the town and the district? Is that what you're saying to me, Thomas?
Yes, that's what it should be, friend. It should be for people who have done stuff for Clonmel and, as you said, the district itself. Mm. So, for instance, if you look at Frank Patterson.
Yes.
Frank Patterson, his hometown is Clonmel, just around the corner from the beautiful Parnell Street. Yeah. Frank is originally from College Avenue. That man put Clonmel on the map. He's known all over the world. He has sung for popes, he's sung for presidents, he's sung for everyone.
Yeah.
He was always a proud Clonmel man. And same with Mick Dell, the man with the golden trumpet, another man that put Clonmel on the map by playing for Princess Grace, the Princess of Monaco.
It's a very good point, because neither of those guys got freedom of the borough, did they? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
No, as far as I know, they didn't. But it's people like that that go out of the way to put Clonmel on the map.
Well, of course, Micheál O'Sullivan did get the freedom of the borough, you know.
Yes, he did.
Well
he
deserved.
And
too.
Again, well deserved, and an absolute gentleman, from what I believe down through the years. And he has put Clonmel on the map for his great contribution to music, his great contribution to Clonmel life, and he was always one person that never forgot where he's from. He always said about Clonmel and how great the town is and all that. So it should be reserved for people that do things for Clonmel.
Is there not a case, though? I mean, if the president does arrive in the town, I mean, it means that there's a big spotlight being put on the town. Should there not be some proper way, though, to honour her or him, as we did with Michael D and with De Valera and with others, you know?
A mayoral reception.
Mayoral reception. You think that would suffice?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would suffice. Like, a mayoral reception would suffice, like, for that. Bring people in, have the mayoral reception, and that as well. Like, the freedom of Clonmel is the biggest honour that any person can receive from the town, and it should be recognised for people of the town. If I went out and if I started with, say, a human rights organisation, and I said, look, people of Clonmel got behind me, they've done all this, would I not be recognised for something like that? I'm in the Clonmel Borough District, not just talking about the town, talking about the Borough District as well, like, which is a massive district, as you know yourself. That's what it should be for. And like, as I said, I am not knocking Catherine Connolly. I have great time for the woman. I campaign for her. It's not her. It is the freedom of Clonmel. It's the honour itself should be kept for the people of Clonmel or anyone who has helped Clonmel in any way.
Some of the protest when she arrived was rather vocal, to say the least, and some of it was abusive, I suppose, to some degree too. I presume you wouldn't have gone along with that, though, would you?
No, friend. You know me. That was wrong. That was absolutely deplorable for people shouting at the President of Ireland. Now, as said, I have no problems with Catherine Connolly. She's a lovely woman. I've met her twice in the last number of years as both TD, and I haven't met her as President yet. But in regards that people shouting at the national figurehead of Ireland, like, she is our President, and we have to respect her. This thing of shouting at people and blocking people who want to meet the President, it's an honour to meet the President no matter what. Even if it's only fly by day and shake hands, say hello, move on to the next person.
Yeah, and
it's an honour for that person.
And your objection is just where the freedom of Clonmel is concerned, and you think that it should be reserved for people from the area who did great things, I suppose, and did very...
Yes.
Yeah,
and helped put Clonmel on the map. Like, in all fairness, like, you look at, we'll say, the Clonmel bids.
Yeah.
Okay? If that is successful, in 5 years' time, the people behind that should get the freedom of Clonmel. For the simple fact is, it's going to be a thing that is going to work. I'm fingers crossed that it will, because I'm following it on Facebook and I'm following it through different channels as well. And I must say, I am very, very proud to say that it is something that will be successful, because the team behind it are lovers of Clonmel. That's what you want to see the freedom of Clonmel for. Something like that. People who are putting Clonmel on the map, who are getting Clonmel back working.
All right, it's going to be interesting. And in the people you've been speaking to, Thomas, for instance, around the time that we found out that Catherine Connolly was going to be awarded that great honour, did people agree with you? Did they have issues around her receiving this?
They have had, Brian. You see it. You've seen the outcry on Facebook about the President, like, what has she done for Clonmel, like, and all that. Now, I'm not playing left politics, I'm not playing right politics. And in regards to that,
I just thought in her,
the honour itself.
I thought her speech was lovely, though. I have to say, and I thought it was very inclusive. And when she spoke about the importance of local government, I thought that was very, very important as well. You know, so
Well, Fran, like that, I'm all for local government. Like, I would love to see the Clonmel Corporation back. Get our money back to where it is. Like, Clonmel is falling on its knees. But in regards that it's not about Clonmel falling on its knees, what this is about is that it should be for the people of Clonmel, the district of Clonmel, that our 6 councillors represent, rather than offering it to someone who's an international award. That's what we have the Superior Peace Award for. That's an international award. The freedom of Clonmel is for the people of Clonmel district and the town itself.
All right, Thomas, great to talk to you as always. Thanks for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you. That is local activist Thomas Ryan there, who's penned that letter to the members of the Clonmel Borough District. 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp is 083 311 3311. Now, on Tip today, as you know, we love an excuse to reminisce and look back on the old days, and particularly, I suppose, lately on the show, the fascinating characters that have since passed on. Well, Joe McGrath was in touch with the show recently, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Joe.
Good morning, Fran. Lovely morning on the Outmail Road this morning. Sun shining and everything good.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it, and it's a beautiful area you're in, that's for sure. You wrote a poem, I think about 28 years ago, did you not, Joe?
I did. I wrote about 40 or 50 poems altogether, but the Outmail Heritage Society published a book of my poetry there this week 8 years ago. And one of the poems, I wrote 2 poems called Cashel. One of them was written in 98, but the 2 of them were included in the 25 poems that the Outmail Heritage Society produced.
Very good. And in this case, you're mentioning an awful lot of local characters, Joe, is that right?
Yes, you could write about 4 poems with the characters of Cashel and the surrounding areas, but I hit on, I kind of composed, it's self-explained, it's a team of 15 players and selectors and people associated with the team.
Very good. So you created a fictitious team of local characters, including the background team and the people on the sidelines. Yeah. Excellent. Will you recite it for us?
I will, of course, man. No problem at all.
Love to hear it, Joe. Love to hear it.
It's the All-Star Cashel team of 98. I am the sole selector, and this poem it will relate. I chose the All-Star Cashel team to play in 98. I've plumbed for skill and passion, stamina and steam. God help the opposition that meets this fame 15. Our goal is automatic, as solid as a wall. He'd stop hailstones in the storm, our number 1 net haul. For smack, he is our number 3, 'tis hell around the square, and the cleaning up for number 2 is left to Docky Bear. Timber, as he guards the other side, there's no way through at all. Joe Aaron, too, in front of him, is first every ball. The flying Patsy Lacey plays with skill and hurling flicks, and Billy Foley mans the centre with strength to carry 6. At centre field we will not yield to tactics of foul play. For speed and flair none can compare with Jesse and Fine Day. Mickey Buckley wears the number 10, our foremost in attack, and tearing through the centre is the electric Thomas Mack. Johnny Magnus slots the left wing place as he races for the line. He slips a smashing pass inside to the corner Doodle's line. The flying Paddy Meany wears the jersey with 13, and when Toss Dargan doubled in the square, the umpire went for green. The Doc supplied the wintergreen, Helen Downey did the sub. So Martin Brown of high renown, he was our only sub. Jackie Dargan said he'd play it first and then kicked up a fuss. Come 4:30, whatever the score, I'll be on the Dublin bus. So come all ye great supporters and show off your red and green. The hand of fate in 98 will deliver you Dan Breen.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Joe. That is super. You have such a great way with words. That's just marvellous.
So
Marvellous.
Cashel was our local town, and I would be very much aware of all the different things.
But you mentioned some of the real greats. Gussie, I was delighted to hear you mention people like Gussie Mack there, and Ned Hall, the late Ned Hall, and Billy Foley, and Patsy. It was great to hear Patsy. Yeah,
God. Was a wonderful character.
The best. Sorry, I interrupted you, Tim Joe. You were about to say what?
The other Cashel poem I wrote was all the changes that occurred on the rock.
Yeah.
And that's in my book as well. If you wish to hear it, I'll deliver it to you also.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it. The changes around the rock of Cashel, is it?
It's the changes that occurred and seen from the rock. The rock speaks about the changes it saw in its looking down on the town.
Oh, what a lovely idea! Lovely idea. Yeah, in your own time, if you'd give us that, Tim Joe, as well.
It's called The Rock. I sit here on my royal throne of sceptre, garb and gown. I've watched the tide of time flow through my lovely Cashel town. I recall your days of laughter and your times of troubled tears. I'm the rock that guides your children home who've left down through the years. I've shared your times of hunger, sad memories I recall. In many ways, your darkest days when you built that famine wall. I smiled and watched your spirits soar with the weather hot and fine. You sang with John McCormack in 1929. The pictures came in 32, an old and new release. The exit and the homebound rush across to Josie D's. 'Twas in 40 that you changed your school down to the Golden Road. What went wrong? The brothers gone, but the oil sells by the load. I can hear the shouts from Stone Park with every hurling puck, and praises soar from homeward fans for Devitt, Murphy, and Mick Burke. They later played in Leahy Park, so many I can't trace. Some lie silently across the road in their final resting place. In 53 on Toastal came our Irish culture glowed. John Duffy and the Fossets, they filled the Dweller Road. I saw so many courtroom pairs, and I knew them at a glance. In 57, it was close to heaven in your ballroom of romance. The music from the old town hall wafted around for many miles, the tangos and the foxtrots from Mick Fogarty and the Doyles. The old shop names have changed as well. Some no longer can be found. Where's Miss Luby's, Brooks, Mulligan's gone, and Nora of the Pound? I saw you as you trod to school, to the brothers and the nuns, and slicked and licked on Saturday after the haircut at Dave Dunn's. You've seen the recent times yourself, for you're the younger stock, but the story of this lovely town is written on the rock.
That is just gorgeous. That is so beautiful. You're bringing me back so many memories there with Josie D's and the rock cinema.
The pictures.
Just marvellous stuff altogether. Tim Joe, it was such a pleasure to hear from you today, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Not at all. I'm delighted.
Yeah,
Leanne tells me on Tipp FM, and it's a pleasure.
Well, Leanne tells me we're getting a huge reaction to you reciting your poetry with us this morning. So that's fantastic.
Good. I hope a big percentage of it is good.
Well, I hope you'll come on with us again soon, Tim Joe.
I will do, surely. Anytime you wish.
All right.
Surely.
You look after yourself, and thank you. Good morning to you. That's Tim Joe McGrath there from Ardmale with 2 poems about my old hometown of Cashel there, and I hope they brought you back as many lovely memories as they did me. We'll take a break, back in a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, hook on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, hook on. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tipp Today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, Tim Joe, who spoke to me and recited his poetry just before the break, wanted to just mention how much he enjoys Johnny Luby on a Friday. And he was saying that Tim Joe's daughter is the principal of Ballytarson National School and is part of the production of Honk that Johnny mentioned. And it's happening on Wednesday and Thursday in lovely Brew, and they would love for people to go along to that. Now, earlier on this week, Father Nicholas Grace joined us on the show to chat about the revival of the Corpus Christi tradition in Clonmel. I put it out there and asked listeners if they remember taking part in the processions in years gone by. Well, my good friend John Hally has great memories, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, friend. It was a pleasure listening to him, Joe.
Wasn't he fantastic? Do you know him, John?
We know Wiltshire, so the both of us took the stage together in the C&D in Cashel.
Ah, I see.
No, see, Tim Joe against man. That's when he used to write the parodies, for James, in the pantomime.
Did he indeed? I didn't realise that.
Yeah. James would be there the night before we go on stage, and he'd be scratching his head, and Tim Joe would come up with all these, the flying Patsy, the Ducky Bay. All the names keep coming back, and Sir James, then the way he was able to push him, it was brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure a great man.
Gee, I loved the two pieces he brought us this morning. You have memories of Corpus Christi procession. Are you talking about New Inn, John?
Yeah, New Inn, we used to have the Corpus Christi procession in the olden days. I remember when we got our first communion. It would be on the Sunday evening after Corpus Christi, so we say it would technically be next Sunday evening. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yesterday was the 4th of June, yeah. So it would technically be on the Sunday evening. And originally, when I was a real child, it used to go down the village and down by the Clonmel Road, over by Our Lady's Road, and back up the village. It would stop at the grotto. And then there was an altar. There's an outside altar over in the convent. The big wall that's on the side of the road?
I do.
Inside that wall there's an altar. And the Canon Moran used to do the benediction there. And then you walk out the black gates, and in the back gate of the graveyard and back into the church. And it used to be led by the Legion of Mary. There was big legion in the Wynn at that time, and all the women would be dressed in their Marion blue capes.
Yes, yeah.
The men would carry all the banners, and the men would carry the canopy over the priests, and the first communicants then would be, the boys would be nearest the priest, the girls then would be next in their little communion dresses, and then you had the pioneers, and then you had the choir, Sister Rosaria, Sister Assumpta, and Mother Kevin, and the choir members, and they'd be doing all the singing. And a lot of the singing used to be the Latin hymns. Then in later years, they just cut it down to going across from the church, cross through the convent, the exact same thing, come out the black gate, and then come back up by the road. Then Father Kennedy when he came, then he did it around the graveyard. And eventually it died away because I think families were going away for, communion nowadays isn't like it was communion.
Of course, it's very different. Yeah, so it just it gradually died away. Is that it, John?
Well, it gradually died away. Yeah. Now in a small parish like New Inn, that's not surprising because, even though tradition is very strong, it did die away a little bit. And I don't think we've had a Corpus Christi procession in a couple of years now. Well, I do know that I've seen this in Clonmel. I've seen photographs one in Clonmel.
Yeah.
It's great to bring it back. But, these are different times now,
Yeah.
And people tend to put their faith behind them, and other things take precedence. I will tell you one story about a Corpus Christi procession, not in Tipperary, that I ran into.
Yeah.
we were playing Cork below in Porky Heel back in the 90s. And we'd no motorway. The motorway wasn't there.
Sure.
So you had to go through Kilbenny, you had to go through Mitchelstown, you go through Fermoy. And it was the first Sunday in June, and Tipp were playing Cork. And I had a car, a Talbot Solara. Do you remember them?
I remember them well, yes.
I had a car, a Talbot, and Paddy Ryan was with us, myself and my brother, Paddy Ryan, the late Paddy Ryan. And we hit off to go to the match in Cork.
Yes.
And outside, a mile outside Fermoy, there was a big traffic jam. And as I was getting in towards Fermoy, I could see the needle on the car for the heating going up and up and up. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was only new to driving.
Yeah.
And then, stuck in the middle of a Corpus Christi procession in Fermoy, with the whole Tipperary crowd. And my car overheated. And we had to stop and pull in and wait. And then we got caught in the middle of the procession because they were going up the street and down the street. We got caught in the middle of the procession, and the freaking car overheated and it blew a gap. And I never forget.
I hope you didn't use unparliamentary language in the middle of a Corpus Christi.
I couldn't wait to go. And we actually drove the car to Cork and home that day.
Yeah. And
once it got out in the open, you see,
it was fine.
The air was back in through the radiators and everything.
Yeah.
But I never forget that Talbot Solara.
So
they were that's the one thing I remember of Corpus Christi, but it was in Fermoy.
Very good. Would you like to see like is happening in Clonmel? And PJ was on to me, so I'm presuming Clogheen. I presume it's PJ English from Clogheen was on as well to say that they have a procession on this coming Sunday. Would you like to see it coming back as a tradition, John?
I would, yeah. It'd be nice. You have to hold on to some of your traditions.
Yeah.
We're under enough of pressure, like even in the rural countryside, like a lot of our traditions are kind of gone.
Yeah.
Like I know some of them now, like, there used to be St. John's Eve and all that, and they're all gone now. Like, very few people would even know what St. John's Eve was.
Yeah.
In rural Ireland now, a lot of people wouldn't know what St. John's Eve was. People maybe my age wouldn't. But like, you used to kill a cock.
Yeah.
For the dinner was say, but you put the blood of the cock over the door, or something like the Passover.
Go on.
In the Hebrew.
Wow.
Yeah. You didn't know that.
I didn't know about that. And was that did that happen in New Win?
The other one was
there
was to be watching after sitting the spuds. That you wouldn't push that the neighbour, a neighbour that you might have fell out with or something, would push an egg at the end of the drill, so that you wouldn't have any spuds.
Well, I think in fairness, I'd say all of that owes more to the pagan traditions than it does to Christianity.
Oh yeah, it's the same. But the Paschal fire is the same.
Of course, yeah.
The Hill of Terror and all that.
Yeah.
So all these traditions go back to pagan tradition.
Yeah, but still,
it would be nice. It would be nice to have a Corpus Christi procession in the village again, but I don't think it's going to happen. We're even looking to have priests now, and I might say.
Yeah, well, Father Bobby is a great organiser there, so you never know. He certainly have all the musicians out there. Anyway.
Oh yes, sir. Listen, look, he's flying it.
He's flying it, indeed he is. He's a fine fella, that's for sure.
That's my way again.
All right, John, great pleasure to talk to you as always. Look after yourself.
Before you go,
yeah, sure, John.
First time ever in my life, I watched Love Island.
Okay.
I was intrigued by this GA guy, your man, the Galway fullback.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Who left the Galway panel to join Love Island. Will someone explain to me what's it about? Because I couldn't make head nor tail of it last night, except that there was women dancing around half naked in the middle of the sun. And these guys seem to have a great time. I haven't a clue what's going on.
You never see that in the wind.
You should get Emma to explain to Leanne to explain to us what it's about.
What it's all about.
I haven't that bull. You're right there, Ted. That's all I could think of.
Good luck, John. Good luck, John. Bye-bye to you. That's John Hally there, talking to us, first of all, about Corpus Christi and then about his experience of watching Love Island for the very first time. But there you go. Somebody says, I'm in from the town of Nenagh. I would love if our President, Catherine Connolly, came to visit the town. I think any president we've had would have been welcomed in Nenagh, and there would have been no problem giving any of them the freedom of the town. They represent us on foreign soils all over the world. And if we can't give them the freedom of our towns, well, what did we vote for them for? I don't think any president should be booed or heckled in our own country.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tip Today, in association with Slattery's of Puckon, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
Yeah, my own friend PJ English was on to say, yes, the Corpus Christi procession is happening in Clogheen at 4 p.m. this Sunday, and Martina was on to us about that as well, and she said, I carried the cross with my classmates. We all wore our lovely dresses, and now my friend's son is going to do it next Sunday in Clogheen, and that, as I say, is from Martina. 1800 938 007. Now the excitement is building in St Angela's Music Academy in Thurles this week as the children prepare for their first concert this Sunday, June 6th, at the lovely Market Quarter in the town. Sinead Ryan is a member of Thurles Lions Club and the founder of the Roundabout programme, and indeed a fine musician herself, and she joins me now. Good morning to you, Sinead.
Good morning, Fran. Thank you very much for having me on your programme. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome indeed. Will you tell me about this showcase for the young musicians? What's happening and how did it all begin, Sinead?
Yeah, Fran, it's really it's an unbelievably exciting project, and we're having absolutely amazing fun all year with it. It started with Kevin Sutton took over St Angela's Academy, and he formed the Thurles Community Orchestra, which are playing on Sunday. And I obviously got, like yourself, you were a brilliant musician, and, you know, got all the people I played, like Mary Rose McNally, Margaret Butler Doyle, different people I had played with in a regional orchestra. And so we came together and we formed that orchestra. And then I go down to Danny Carroll's concert. I know they're on Sunday. I'm missing it. But I love his concerts. And I was in the Thurles Silver Band as a child. I joined it about 8 or 9. And there was ordinary men in the town, you know, and I got 2 trips to America. And Pat Short, the comedian, is my age, and his brothers and my brother Paul, we were all in this band for about 5-6 years. And I then realised I played the cello in school. I actually got put on it by accident because I'm not a great singer, and they thought I couldn't do my Miss McManus couldn't do my ear test. And then I actually fell in love with the cello by accident from school. But when I look back, I didn't own the saxophone and I didn't own the cello. And then as an adult, when I went back, Sister Cecilia in the academy, Kevin has now taken it over, she has retired, but she encouraged me back on the cello. And I finished my grade 8 this year. I'm a very mature student.
Congratulations. I was delighted to see that, Sinead. Well done, you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But anyway, look, I'm a member of the Thurles Lions Club, and as you know, we do a lot of community projects. We've won the nationals with our housing projects. We do the River Walk and numerous projects in the town. But members within the club can come up with an idea, and then the club will support you. And so I was at Danny's concert, and I was daydreaming at it, and I was looking at, God, my ear kept going to the French horn. So I rang Fergal Carroll and asked him, who could teach me French horn? Now, this came out of a joke I had with one of the music teachers, Katie Cody. It's about doing grade 1-a-thons.
Yes.
So I met a famous musician, Liam Daly. He's a top French horn player and a conductor in the country. And I was driving up and down to Kilmeaden getting these lessons, and because there was nobody plays French horn in the town, and brass has died, and the Thurles Silver Band died. And then I started realising, as a cellist, my friend Mary Rose McNally, when I went back on it, she encouraged me into Thurles Musical Society to discover that in the town of Thurles, now there is obviously people around it, but in the town I was actually the only cellist. So you then realise, like, in my lifetime, we've lost this. Like, you know, the orchestra I was in as a child in school, that's gone. And the earthline, like the what I would call the diverse instruments, were dying. And now, Danny Carroll, as you can see with Clonmel, myself and Mary Rose went down to hear them playing Clonakilty, and we were dancing in the streets. And
yes.
like, the Clonmel is a legacy.
Yeah.
In Clonmel, the concert band in Clonmel is just, it's incredible. So with that, this kind of idea came into my head. And I put it to Kevin Sutton, and then we went. Now, I have to sincerely thank Sister Berkmans and Sister Bernadette of the Ursuline Order, because the Order, in fairness, are, you know, letting us have this for the rest of our lives, this music building for the community in the town. And they gave me the green light. And then I went to my local Lions Club, and I sincerely have to thank all the members, because the support I got that night actually blew me away, because I was able to then go, because of our learning with the Lions Club, I was able to understand community funding. And I then went to Brian King in the Premier Credit Union. And I was, like, I suppose because the whole idea behind it was it's an equal opportunity for every child to get what I got, Fran.
Yes, sure.
And that's what I really mean. I was given it free. Like, I was given these instruments free as a child, and it's gone in my lifetime. I said, right, how can we put this back? Now, I was blessed. I went to all 6 schools in the Thurles parish. I met all the principals, sat down with them, and I'm grateful for their time. And, you know, like, schools are so busy now, and they've so much on, and there's so many different activities. But thankfully they got what I was saying. And, like, I went to school with Rita Ann Maloney, and she always said to me, you know, music gives children a purpose.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought Kieran Healy in the presentation, he said to me, it was very important to him that they would have, you know, they'd have equal opportunities, that it would break down the barriers, the shared experience they'd have with band and orchestra. So I then brainstormed it with all the professional musicians I know. Now, these are teachers. I'm an amateur musician. And I, like, my cello teacher, Sonia, Mark Fitzgerald, a friend of Liam's, I got to know. He's a top brass player. He has Brass and Co. He teaches in St. Canis's primary school. Thankfully, he has now joined the academy. And then I have a friend, Katie Cody, who has her master's in music therapy. Anne-Marie Dwan teaches violin. And then we have a fabulous musician, Pat O'Callaghan, who plays clarinet, saxophone, and everything. He teaches in the academy, and he obviously plays in Danny's band. And then Mary Rose McNally is legendary, and then Margaret Butler Doyle. There was different people I knew that we brainstormed it at, and all of us were on the same hymn sheet. And thankfully, I have to say, the secondary school teachers got it. We did a demo with Liam Daly. Now, we did it with the brass only, to show what could be done and how we could introduce it to the children. Because Liam had a lifetime experience of being in, he was in the Artane Boys band, he was head of the army band, he was obviously in the Royal Academy, and he's now teaching in the Limerick School of Music with 24 children on French horn. And he knew, and Mark, how to put this back, because Mark teaches in Canis's. So anyway, we started it, and thankfully, initially, the Scolangela, the Presentation Primary, and Luke National School have come on board, and 2 other schools now are in negotiations with us. And we started as a pilot. Now, the biggest thing was the instruments.
Yes.
And, you know, the like, without the Lions Club giving me that backing, that we wouldn't have got off the ground. And I just want to thank all our members for that support, because, you know, even now as I'm talking, it was a motive.
Yeah.
And the Premier Credit Union, Brian, just immediately, the board, and he gave it to me. And then it was privately, I contacted people, they all know who they are. And, you know, and then Sister Berkmans and Sister Bernadette couldn't have done more. Now, then we got the children, we designed this program, so the children come up in an hour of school time. And every child, the fun, if anyone has time, go in on St. Angela's Academy and look at the roundabout videos over the last year. And you see the children trying out the instruments.
Yes.
And it was a game. And then they chose what they wanted. Now, look, let's be real. I only had X amount of each instrument, but we did guide them to where they were to be.
Yeah.
And what was really cool about it, Fran, is, and I did a video myself of this because I wanted to capture it. When they left the building in November, now in the first few weeks, obviously, to learn how to play it, learn how to handle it, they were learning to read music. Then they go down to Kevin, and he does a really fun ukulele band. And the ukulele band actually was quite important because obviously there's children with special needs, there's children with different disabilities, and then there's people like me. I wasn't the sport, like my old school principal, Marie Ryan, would actually say I would dodge sports the whole of secondary school, you know, and I did art and music, and I wasn't interested in freezing myself on the pitch. And so, you know, I thought there was going to be children in the music that mightn't want like music as much as I'm passionate about, as I felt about sports. I did like tennis, but that was all. And so anyway, we designed this program with the academy teachers, you know, Anne-Marie Dewan, Katie Cody, Pat O'Callaghan, Sonia, Mark, and Kevin, and then the school and the teachers, the primary school teachers that were in the thing, they brought the children up for the hour, and then for a half an hour of it, we got that basically 5 children go up and do cello with Sonia, and then X amount go over to Anne-Marie on violin, and then Katie does flute, and Pat then does a mix of clarinet and saxophone, and then Mark teaches 3 brass instruments. He's teaching the trombone, trumpet, and French horn.
Yes,
and
fantastic.
We now have 120 children next Sunday playing.
Wow.
Now, I never thought that would happen so quick.
That is so fantastic.
Magical.
And tell us what exactly is happening on Sunday then, and when is it kicking off?
We obviously have a fabulous new, the Tipperary County Council obviously have put in the Market Quarter, and thankfully it's straight up for St. Angela's Academy. And we were having, I was having a meeting with Kevin and the school principals, Kieran Healy and Bredan and Louise McCullough. And we were having a meeting, and we looked across, and Bredan just said, wouldn't that be a lovely spot for an outdoor concert? So Kevin contacted the council, and there's a new lady, Deirdre Dunn, looking after it, and she was so helpful. And the council actually came in, and they've helped us with the staging and you know, putting it on, because there's a lot of logistically involved. Yeah. So the Thurles Community Orchestra are going to play at 2:00, and we're together now 2 years, and it has been magical. You know, you're playing with people that music is a language that everyone understands, and when you play it, it's like you know it, Fran.
Yeah.
You couldn't explain it to someone. It's like those musicians are kind of like a different family to you.
Yeah.
And the children now are getting it. Last night we had a rehearsal, and Kilkenny Community Orchestra are playing, because Sonia, our cello teacher, she conducts the Community Orchestra, and she also conducts in Kilkenny.
Yes.
And the Kilkenny Orchestra, we did a joint concert in the Source there recently for the Bealtaine Festival for the County Council, and we went over and played in St. Kieran's in Kilkenny. They're actually coming over to give us a hand. So we're playing on but this is the magic of it.
Yeah.
And so at 2:00 there is going to be about 40 adult musicians playing. Mm-hmm. But then at 3:00 the magic starts. The 120 children are playing. Now last night there's a BBC programme where at the adult orchestra, now we're playing one piece called Hungarian Dance, and the children play the basic version. But my memory as a child, I grew up with Joe and Pat Short, and his sisters were in my secondary school. They were older than me. And I was brought over in 4th class on a baby cello over to the secondary school, and I sat beside Mary Short and Alison Ann, and I knew them because. And then one of the girls in the community orchestra with me, Sinead Hannafin. Now, while we're great musical friends, and you know, there's all these people like Anthony Conver and different people in the thing. There's Lawrence Mercy and Bob Hall. His lovely son Rob plays trombone, and so we're all playing together now, and then we're now playing with the children. So the concert then at 3:00. And we rehearsed together last night, and one of the Kilkenny cellists was sitting behind me, lovely man David, and he said to me, where did you get all these? And he just looked at me in disbelief when I said, these children are only on these instruments 25 weeks.
Isn't it amazing? And you see, it was all meant to be, Sinead. And sadly, I'm almost out of time, so I just want you to mention the rest of what's happening then. So all of the kids will play along with yourselves, and you have Papazitas then, do you, as well?
Yes, we've a lovely... Now, after the children's orchestra, then Kevin has the ukulele band, so they obviously do ukulele. So we've a load of Pink Pony Club and Hit the Diff and all that. Great. And you see, this is what I said to all the music teachers. I said, guys, I did, Royal Academy exams on piano as a child, and I'm now obviously did them. And don't get me wrong, there's massive learning in it. But if the child can fall in love with the instrument,
absolutely,
the rest can happen.
Absolutely.
And now what we've discovered, there's a fabulous video that Katie Cody created, and she interviewed all the children last week, and they talked about what mattered, and she has it up on social media on the St. Angela's Academy. And we also have then there's a teenage, Kevin's degree is pop.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant because we're mixing now the classical and the pop and we're having great fun. And the teenagers are playing, there's a band called Grapevine. These are TY students that Kevin has been teaching in the town. And one child, I hope she won't mind me naming her, Bibi, she has done classical instrument, but she took to drumming in TY, and then all these children formed a band, these, TY fifth-year children, and they're performing after the ukulele band. And then this is a free concert that the Tipperary County Council have put on for the community, and it's family friendly, and it's in that market quarter. And then the Papazitas then are playing. So if anyone wants to have a bit of dancing after, the No Better Band than Owen Sutton's band, the Papazitas.
Well, it was delightful to hear all about it, Sinead. Lovely to hear the passion in your voice about this as well. I hope maybe we could...
Well, you understand it, Fran. We know each other a long time, and you're an amazing musician, so you understand that passion.
You're too kind. Thank you indeed. We'd love to come and record something at some stage or other.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tip Today, in association with Slattery's of Puckon, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tip Today. And yes, we will announce the overall winner of the €200 voucher for Mr. just in a little while. Keep your calls coming in to Leanne, though. It's a free phone number, 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp is 083 311 3311. Will you mention the plant sale that's happening in Sylvanus, the Cancer Support Centre in Nina? And it's the road straight across from the GAA Centre. Second house on the right, it says here. Tea and goodies for everybody, says Betty. So that's happening today. It's a plant sale, and your support would be much appreciated. It's time for a Friday panel, and delighted to be joined by Imelda Walsh. Brendan Murphy is with us, and Thomas Conway as well. Good morning to you all.
Good morning, Tom.
Thanks very much indeed for coming into it. They don't allow me out of there. What's the weather like out there now? Is it? It's nice, isn't it?
I'm just thinking the washing isn't the washing machine. That should be on the line. But however,
good day for drying. Yeah.
A good day for drying. Do you know, sometimes I just can't judge what subject is going to come up on this on this program. So let us kick off with those new figures from the Central Statistics Office showing that offences involving weapons and explosives, would you believe, rose by 6% last year. But knife crime has once again come under scrutiny this week following those fatal incidents in Dublin. Concerns about the apparent rise in knife-related attacks nationwide have been widely shared on social media, with many people expressing alarm at this point at the recent trend. So what about the cause of this, and how should we combat this in some sort of way? Brendan, can I start with you on this? Is this something you're worried about?
It's definitely in the news a lot more, and it would definitely make you more aware. I remember going back 10 years ago. I worked in retail, as you know, not too far from here. And a gentleman came into the shop and he made a purchase, and he went to take his wallet out of his pocket. Now, he struggled to take it out, and when he did, a knife fell on the ground, and it was one of those flick knives. I looked at it, I looked at him, and I gulped. And he just picked it up. He said, sorry about that, and put it back in his pocket. And it made me very aware, and I suppose concerned as to why would he have a knife, and, why would someone carry a knife? But it seems to be, like you see in the news, it seems to be very common.
That people have a knife now for their own protection, as they would see it in some ways. Is that what you mean? It
must be. And I couldn't explain why somebody, because he didn't look... he looked reasonable enough. But I got a bit of a fright, I suppose, when I seen it. I wasn't expecting it. But it's evident people are carrying weapons around, carrying knives, for whatever reason, if it's for protection. Looking at the whole thing overall, I suppose, in the country, things have changed. The dynamics have changed. The availability of drugs and consumption of drugs has certainly played a role in it, and feuds between gangs and different people, you know. So,
and I suppose the point being that if you have a knife for protection, and then you fuel that with alcohol and drugs, as you say as well, and it gets to a bit of an altercation, they're going to be taken out, and then we could end up with tragedy, I suppose.
Absolutely. And the thing about it was, I mean, we probably all had Swiss Army knives back in the day. I was a big fan of MacGyver. Fancied myself as being a bit of MacGyver, and I had one of those knives with the scissors and the screwdriver and everything. Yeah. But this is a different ballgame altogether. I mean, the knife I saw was quite big.
Right.
So it would definitely do serious harm to somebody. And if these are the kind of weapons people are carrying, I'd be seriously concerned. But the reasons why they're carrying them, I suppose, is up for debate as to why they need them. Is it for protection? Is it for if they're in a fight?
Yeah, and that's what you'd worry about, isn't it? Imelda, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I do think people, especially after the weekend, fantastic young man that was coming to the aid of a young lady that was being harassed by guys, and suddenly he's dead. Because of a knife attack. It's seriously, seriously concerning. I suppose I did just a little bit of background check in relation to the whole knife thing, and there's 40 prosecutions a week for knives.
Wow.
And there are 15 people per month hospitalised as a result of knife attacks. And these statistics, they probably never make it into the public domain. And I suppose because in ways we've all become so desensitised in relation to the horror stories in the news every day, that people that are, you know, that aren't killed but are victims and maybe seriously injured, these are all people that are whose lives are impacted hugely. And I suppose there were, in relation to that also, the amount of knife attacks are far more common in residential settings, which is a huge concern also. You know, it is frightening. I listening there, I definitely think it'll impact people going to the capital, because I've heard people talking about it, and now in that conversation you hear it comes into in relation to being on the Luas. Now I used to use the Luas quite a bit when, you know, I often got the train to Dublin, get the Luas out to the farm centre and everything else. Now I suppose maybe the time I was going, it was probably early enough in the morning and early in the afternoon that you weren't coming against. But people would tell you that it's actually quite frightening, we'll say, in relation to the behaviour on the Luas, around, we say, stations, in areas and everything else. It certainly is going to impact people. And it's not just a Dublin problem. And you know, it's far wider than that, because I think it's in every town at a certain time of night.
Imelda, is it almost becoming fashionable to be armed with the knife?
Yeah, it probably is with young people, because like everything, we'll say, once some of them, and then it becomes fashionable that they're all carrying them and everything else. But like even for the guards and and I know numbers, we still need far more guards than we actually have, and I know the numbers, we say they say they have more people coming through Templemore and everything else, but it certainly is not enough. You need a more visible guard or presence in relation to dealing with this. You need more education as regards young people. But it's how, you know, at what age, like, you get into young people in relation to, we'll say, whether it's you know, meeting with groups, we'll say, in areas, we'll say, and I know that in the Garda Síochána they work in a lot of socially deprived areas in relation to this and everything else, but it is concerning.
Very, very worrying indeed. Thomas, how are you feeling about this? I know they're talking about amnesties for knives and stuff, if people want to give in knives. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I'm not sure how effective that will be. I mean, it is frightening, and it has definitely become more prevalent. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago in London, wasn't there, in England more generally, there was a spate of knife crimes. And now we're seeing it occur here, essentially. And I'll pick up on what Imelda said. It's not just Dublin. I think it's widely prevalent across the country, and to an extent, it is. You're correct to say it is probably fueled by drugs and alcohol, and then that creates situations in which someone wields the knife or pulls out the knife with devastating consequences. Obviously, it's very hard to police. I mean, yeah, the amnesty idea is one idea, but how do you control that? Do you have this stop and search kind of policy?
I think they were talking about, and this is something I have no idea how they would do this even legally, but they were talking about, I heard this on national radio, going to the doors of people that maybe they figured would have been knife users or knife owners and that kind of thing. I think that'd be very
intrusive and I'm not sure how effective that would be. I mean, we need to tackle the problem at source anyway, because the trend is escalating and it's seriously damaging to kind of social cohesion as well.
Yeah. Now, years ago, we associated this with America and with gang warfare in America and that kind of thing. Remember West Side Story, the whole knife fight at the end of that was. But we didn't see that much of it here.
No, and it has become nearly not acceptable, but the fact that it's so prevalent, we've become desensitized, and I always get worried when we become desensitized in relation to things, that when it no longer shocks us to the same degree, we'll say that, as things would have had in the past. And because it's every other day, there's a story in the news. We say, I was watching Primetime last night in relation to young kids with the whole drug thing and getting involved in that and getting monies to drop this and sucking them in. And a lot of these kids in the areas are coming from socially deprived areas where government has failed hugely in respect to putting in supports to help those communities. And, kids from families maybe whose parents are drug dependent and everything else. And it's so sad to see kids as young as 7 years of age being drawn into that. And ultimately, it's starting from a very, very younger and younger, like 7 years of age. Like, these are children who would be only in first class. They haven't even received a communion or anything else. And it's starting from that age up along, and they're being drawn into that cycle and everything else. And then, of course, in relation to that, you also have the whole migration issue now. And while it might be a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, it certainly is a factor as well.
I'm just going to bring that up because I'm looking at the screen in front of me here, and a lot of people on to us to say that you can't have a genuine conversation about knife crime without talking about people coming in from other jurisdictions where maybe they're bringing a different sort of a culture with them
and everything else. But
is that fair comment?
It's not unique to people coming in from other countries. We'll say that. I think we say we do. I think we've enough of our own to actually carry knives, but it certainly is a factor because in relation to there is a lot of, I suppose, anger out there in communities in relation to whole migration and how the whole thing. And I always felt from the start with government they handled it so miserably, even in relation to shoving loads of people into small areas. We'll say that into ghetto style.
So you're forming ghettos,
forming ghettos exactly, and this is what it is. We'll say that.
You're nodding at that, Brendan. That notion of ghettos and
just I suppose, and just to hit on Imelda's point there, we need to offer alternatives then to the likes of, we'll say, kids, growing up in an area where they would be exposed to crime, youth clubs, and I suppose it's down to community policing as well, and we'll say neighbourhood watch and neighbourhood, I suppose, committees in trying to find alternatives for these kids. Because if there's no alternative, they're going to fall into that line. And knives are cheap; they're easily sourced. And
but deadly.
Absolutely. Because if they have one and they're in conflict, they're going to take it out. And take it out, they're going to use it. And it's going to have detrimental effects.
And when you see the kind of figures on the increase, I mean, are you seeing anything that might lead you to believe that we're starting to get a handle on this in some way?
Not really. Society has changed, but for the worse, I think. It's definitely worse than in the last 10 years, and you can see it. Even the town, if you walk down, even Nina, any evening or night time when it's dark, there's certain areas you just won't walk because you'd be nervous walking. Because there's people hanging around, it's dark, it's gloomy, there's laneways, and that wouldn't have been the case going back 15, 20 years ago. We would have all walked out of the Silvermine Bar or whatever and walked down the street and at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and probably have no fear. But now there is a fear amongst people going these places, and they just still avoid it.
Right.
And some people may carry a knife.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. You add extreme violence, or the possibility of extreme violence to that, and it's even more
perhaps
scary,
that's why they're carrying knives as well, in case they are attacked or they feel that they have some bit of security.
Do you go along with that notion, Thomas, that, providing alternatives for younger people, or is that just too simplistic? I mean, is this...
Yeah, I mean, there's a cultural element to it. I mean, if you're born and bred into it, you're more likely to carry a knife. And, that has, as I said earlier, potentially devastating consequences. But I think, we do need, I mean, like I was in college in Dublin. I used to frequent Temple Bar. I walked through it on my commute to college. But under cover of darkness then, when night falls, different place entirely, and you wouldn't probably walk through, some areas of the city, maybe not Temple Bar specifically, but certainly it has spread far beyond Dublin now. And there are political implications to it as well. I'm looking at what's happening in Britain with that murder in Southampton, Henry Novak. And then now there's a march, or there was a march by Tommy Robinson, the far right figure. That's what happens when you don't tackle the problem, you know.
People latch on.
People latch onto it, and bad actors generate a bit of momentum. So I think if it's not tackled here, you risk something similar happening.
I agree with you. There's dangers in all of our towns, but you touched on it, Imelda, when you spoke about Dublin. I don't think Dublin is a safe place anymore.
It's not, no.
And when you were comparing your experience on the Lewis, you were going back about six
years ago.
Has it gone downhill rapidly since then?
People tell me that the Lewis is absolutely lethal, especially after 6-7 o'clock in the evening. In particular, we're saying that. Obviously, when it's early in the morning, and it is. We're saying, you see gangs. We're saying that, like, you know, it's probably preventing people from going into Dublin. And I suppose this week, because this happened in the Grafton Street area, like quite a plush area in Dublin, would say Ray McAdam, I remember at the time of the fuel protests, and he was giving out in relation to, would say, the protests stopping people coming into the city. And people, I think Dublin people and people there never felt as safe as they did at the time of the protests when all the farmers were there. And it certainly, you know, I felt his comments at the time were unfair and unjust, because I'd been thinking back to the riots in 2023, and for a long time afterwards, and now you have this again. So, you know, it's a relatively quick time after that. But going back, we say, in relation to young people, but when you create a vacuum and you don't put in, we say, supports to help young people, whether it's youth clubs, whether it's boxing clubs, whatever it is, when you don't put the resources in. And I think this was evident even in the local election in Dublin Central, like when we saw Malachy Simpson and the Monk getting the vote that they actually got. Well, that tells you there's a cry from the people in the inner city area in Dublin for help and support, and nobody is listening to them. I just think government have failed miserably. And, you know, coming out, we'll say now in relation to that, you know, we're going to throw all the resources at in relation to tackling this. They're tackling nothing, we're saying that.
Yeah, you know? How do you feel about Dublin and trips to Dublin now, Brenda?
I'd be very wary. Like Imelda was saying, it's definitely not a place I go in the cover of darkness. You know, even during the day, I'm sceptical enough. I suppose the crowds of people, it's so busy. There's all sorts of characters. I would be weary, and I don't know how you'd go about tackling it at this stage, because it's definitely.
Are you back and forth, Thomas?
I mean, I'd be in Dublin frequently enough, and what I would worry, the reputational damage to the city, because once the city gets a name as a violent city or a dangerous city,
and that impacts on the country.
It impacts on the country as a whole, on tourism, etc., etc.
And you remember Helen McAtee prancing around Dublin trying to convince everybody was safe, but she was covered in bodyguards and in security.
Well, precisely, and that illustrated the scale of the problem. But the boardwalk on the Liffey was always notorious for. I mean, I suppose for drugs and that, you have to put police officers on the street, Gardaí on the street. But then, what image does that send if you've guards walking everywhere? You know.
Well, if I felt safer.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
All right, let me.
There's good and bad in all society.
There is.
In Dublin, Nina, everywhere else as well.
Yeah.
But I think that minority of people that are causing problems and are carrying weapons is growing, and I think that's the issue.
All right, let me take a break. We'll be back with more from our panel in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tip Today, in association with Slattery's of Puckon, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to our Friday panel, and Thomas, Imelda and Brendan with us. And we move on. NGOs and charities do a huge amount of work right across the country, needless to say, supporting everyone from carers and people with disabilities to those struggling with homelessness and mental health issues. But questions are increasingly being asked about how much state funding these organisations receive and whether that affects their ability to challenge government policy. Now, the issue came up on the show yesterday when Michael Power, who had been a carer along with his wife Maggie for their late son Alex, he suggested that Family Carers Ireland, for example, can only push the government so far because it relies on government funding. Can I start with you, Thomas, where that's concerned? NGOs, we've often spoken about them in the past, huge amounts of them in this country by comparison to other countries. What do you make of that? Michael's concern there that because they're funded by the government, even though they're non-governmental organisations, that they're limited to some degree.
Yeah, I think it's a valid concern. It's a valid argument. And look, I mean, vast majority of NGOs do invaluable work. You can't say that enough. I do wonder, and I've heard people speculate about this, certain commentators, do we have too many of them?
Yeah.
You know, there's such an abundance.
Are they overlapping as
well?
Yeah,
of organisations are, you know, and I suppose in certain ways, you know, they emerge when the government isn't tackling a problem sufficiently. So some of the blame can be apportioned to the government there. I think that's a valid concern. You know, the line between, or you have people working in NGOs who are dependent on government figures for funding and that. It's a difficult one. But I do have concerns about the amount of non-government organisations we have.
And is it time that we looked at that, for example, where there's duplication, maybe to make some decisions?
Yeah, I think it seriously is, because I mean, you know, you have to have efficient services and that, and efficient financial efficiency, etc. And while they do invaluable work, I wonder, you know, if some of the organisations could be merged, if the government could take on some of the responsibility, because I feel at times the government, you know, the government has given almost responsibility to the NGOs to take care of things.
Yeah, well, it's a nice cop-out if things go wrong, I suppose.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, the amount of them would concern me, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Imelda, how do you feel about NGOs?
Yeah, I concur with what Thomas is saying there. I heard your interview yesterday with Michael, and actually found myself quite emotional after listening to him with saying that, like, because I could hear the emotion in his voice when he was speaking with you, was saying that, like, you know, and we all know the fantastic work that carers do. And sometimes I feel we play platitudes when we make a statement like that, because except you've walked in somebody's shoes, you have no understanding, because it's 24/7. And I took his point, and I concur completely with him in relation to the big hoo-ha they were making in respect of the grant. You'd imagine it was
20. Really annoyed him that, just for listeners who didn't hear the piece, that politicians coming out and claiming jurisdiction over
everybody
the few
in
respect
of the few bob, and he made a very valid point that €2,000 it wouldn't get you 3 nights care. Was saying that, and it was hard not to feel upset in relation to his comments and in relation to his points that sometimes would say, and it may happen, would say, like, you know, when somebody's representing a group and they're engaging with government and everything else, sometimes a bit of complacency can set in, and maybe the same fight, because, you know, there's probably an agreement in relation to we're going to do so much. And I suppose, and I heard you making the point yesterday with him in relation to, we'll say, the fuel protest, and we'll go back to that again, the way that when people came out, and it was nobody organised this was people themselves standing up, and they managed to get the 500 million.
Yeah. Well, they got a result.
They got a result that the organisations, whether it was the hauliers, whether it was the farming lobby groups, or whoever it was, failed to get. And they actually got it, we'll say that. But it's, and sometimes we'll say for someone that's caring for children, and you see the CEO of someone that's representing your cohort, and they're getting maybe 130,000 plus expenses. Now that's a hard pill to swallow when you're there fighting for supports and everything else. And we see it, and you mentioned Cara Darmody yesterday, and I've been mindful because I've been thinking about her during the week with the juniors that are starting, and the fantastic ambassador she has been in relation to it. Was saying that because I actually heard her name being mentioned in a political debate on air there recently, and I just said that this young girl of probably 16 years of age, maybe not even 16, and the impact that she's actually able to have far greater than any of these NGOs. And this is only a young girl standing up for her family, will saying that, like, you know. But I certainly yesterday listening, because I even know I have a friend in Kilkenny and they have a Down syndrome son, and back recently in relation to carers, his wife Breed got all this questionnaire in respect of other incomes coming into the family, their farming family, and you know, the single farm payment, what they got for their milk, had they shares, what they were worth on that date, get a certificate, because anyone that's a co-op supplier will have shares and the value of them, and all of this. And I'm just thinking that they're giving these people a measly amount of money. They're saving, like carers are saving the government 20 billion a year, like 20 billion, and then they come on and they're clapping themselves on the back in relation to giving families €2,000 and not giving them any support and trying to get on any of them. We saw it with that poor young chap Harvey Sherritt that died, was saying that, and all the things that went wrong in relation to his care and the support he should have been getting. Like, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves in respect to how we treat carers and how we treat the people that are being cared.
Well, that's for sure. Brendan, Ireland's NGO sector, one of the largest and most influential in Europe, seemingly, relative to population. 11,500 registered charities and over 34,000 non-profit organisations. It's a lot, isn't it?
Well, it's like this. If you were to take the NGOs out of the communities across the country, you'd have a serious shortfall in services to the community. And I think that's what the government need to look at. Why have we these shortfalls, and how can we support these NGOs? I know we probably have overlapping in some cases, but there's overlapping because there's need. That's the thing, you know. So I think the government is out of touch with the communities and what's needed in the communities, and to drip feed them funding where they can barely survive to provide these services where they're readily needed is a poor approach.
Do you not have any problem with the number of NGOs that we have in the
There's
country?
probably too much, and they need to look at that, I suppose, and work together, I suppose. But this is a project for government really to look at, because really these services are not being provided by government, and there's a need for NGOs to set up in communities and provide services. And in particular, I suppose, just to call out, mental health is one of them. There's a huge shortfall in mental health, and if you name the likes of Seesaw that provide services in Nina, Clonmel and Tipperary Town,
without any funding, you know.
if they were to stop, who's going to provide that service? And they don't get funding from the government. So it's a huge project, it's a huge piece. But then again, if you were to take the NGOs out, who's going to provide these services?
And the other thing worth pointing out, then there's some of the NGOs, and they're hugely powerful, Thomas. I mean, in terms of being able to advocate and influence government decisions.
Yeah, well, they shape government policy, or they contribute to shaping government policy. And I do want to pick up on what Brendan alluded to there. I mean, mental health services. I mean, without the NGOs, without the likes of Seesaw, the likes of Pieta House, etc., I mean, we would have a serious mental health crisis. Well, there probably is a mental health crisis in the country, but things would be much worse, is what I'm trying to say. You know, and I think the government has to pick up its game on mental health. I mean, it's become almost fashionable to talk about it, and, you know, I hear a lot of statements and pronouncements saying how important it is, but delivery is key. And we need tangible resources there.
Well, we failed rather miserably. That's for sure where that is concerned. Do you have any issue, though, around like public funded advocacy groups being so influential without sort of electoral accountability and without
I mean, transparency
put there,
transparency is there has to be absolute transparency with these organisations. I mean, because there is always the risk of, you know, I don't want to say corruption, but that funds will be mishandled and things like that. And they are dealing with vast amounts of money as well.
Yeah, and before I leave it, do you think that it needs to be looked at and examined?
Seriously, yes. I'm thinking, like, you know, in respect to your point there, and I'm thinking, Peter McVerry Trust springs to mind in relation to their whole governance issue. There has to, when you stop holding people to an account and everything else, with, like you started here at the start of the programme, talking about Suivness and their fundraiser today. Yeah. And you've all these, and the same here, North Tipp Hospice, any of them, you know, in relation to the fantastic work that that they're doing, but this is community, supporting community. And without those supports, like, communities will be an awful lot worse off. But unfortunately, I think in respect of people that need these groups and need the supports, that we've just become a talking shop. Nothing gets done. We talk about it and we set up another government agency to look at this. And this continuously goes on and on and on. And it's people that need the supports, they're being left waiting. Short-changed.
All right, we move on. This week on the show, we were joined by animal rights activist Jerry Boland, who shared why he believes people should stop eating eggs. Now, Jerry outlined a number of concerns about modern egg production, including the treatment of the male chicks, which are typically culled shortly after hatching because they just don't, needless to say, produce eggs. He also spoke about the practice of beak trimming in female chicks and the whole welfare issue that he raised. And some of what he described was absolutely horrific in how the creatures are housed while they're laying the eggs. Brendan, are you surprised to hear about this?
I suspect foul play here, friend.
The quote of the day.
And I think that those chickens need representation. I think Michael Chicken Brennan really he's our man. No, on a serious note, yeah, definitely there are concerns, definitely with the points he's raised on it. And I call into question the regulations and standards. You know, what are the standards? What are the regulations in relation to it? Because if, you know, the welfare of the animals and animal cruelty has to come into play here.
Yeah, I mean, the conditions that these creatures are living in while they're supplying the eggs, I mean, it's just absolutely dreadful. They don't get out into daylight largely. You know.
It definitely doesn't seem right, and that's where I'd be leaning towards. You know what I mean? Because that's not it's cruelty really, and at the end of the day, they're living beings. They're chickens, whatever people look at it. Yeah. I don't really eat eggs apart from egg fried rice, but
definitely on a roll.
But, from that end of it, the treatment of the chickens, certainly that needs to be looked at. There needs to be standards and regulations in relation to that.
Was it a step too far, do you think, to advocate for people to just stop eating eggs at this point?
It was a hard listen, Fran. Listening to him, I'd be...
Oh, you heard it, did you? Good.
I did, yes, I did, yeah.
Hard listen in terms of what he described?
In what he described, we'll say that.
Are you surprised? Because
no, I suppose we say, like, I suppose the pig and poultry sector, because they're quite intensive farming models, will say that in particular. But I do know, would say in respect, I suppose I would know, would say Tim Cullinane would say Tim's Piggery, like everything, the operation there is such a high standard in relation to animal welfare and all of that. Absolutely unbelievable. We'll say that. I would have been on Tim's farm on a number of occasions over the years, and everything was just top notch, we'll say, in respect of how you want, we'll say, animals to be treated. Listening about the poultry sector, I found it quite sickening in relation to the male chicks and what happens to them. You know, that was a hard. I actually found myself looking at the egg yesterday evening on the plate and wondering, do I actually want this? Was saying that my daughter I said nothing. So I said, if I say this, she'll never look at an egg again, because you know it was a hard listen.
Well, finally, are you surprised to hear we got a very mixed reaction?
I heard that, exactly,
Some of the stuff I didn't read out now, but
exactly. But like for me as a farmer, and I'm just thinking, we say, like a dairy farmer in respect of animal welfare and everything else, and I can tell you this much, we'll say the cows and the calves probably got better care than ourselves in relation if they needed a vet, or if there was a calf sick, you stay up in the night, you go up in the middle of the night to feed that calf to keep it alive.
But this is industrial
and
farming.
This is industrial, we're saying that, like, you know, and I suppose that's why you see a lot of people, like, you know, they like to buy free range chicken, free range eggs in the supermarket, we're saying that. I would expect and hope that the people responsible for the oversight in relation to how these units are managed, that they are doing their job and doing it appropriately. It's no more than, like, we'll say, cattle being killed, and like people have different views in relation to the different methods, like, you know, animals have to be killed humanely, you know, the stunt and everything else, but we can't allow situations where animals are cruelly treated. That is unacceptable at any level, irrespective of what the enterprise is.
Thomas, how do you feel about
it? Fully agree with Imelda there. I mean, animal cruelty is deplorable, like, and it should not be ever.
Are we responsible in some? I mean, we want our eggs all year round. We want them at a reasonable enough price. So, are we playing into this in some way?
Yeah. Well, that was the argument I was going to make there. I think price is a big thing. Like, I eat a fair bit of chicken, and I used to always buy free range. And it came to a point where, you know, a lot of the time, you know, the free range stuff is that bit more expensive. And if you're having a lot of it, And it makes you think twice. I now feel guilty, like if I buy non-free range chicken, I'm in that kind of a situation. So price is a big thing, and I mean, a lot of people, cost of living pressures and stuff like that, will go to the shelf and they will pick the most the most affordable option available.
Yes.
They don't have the luxury of thinking where does it come from and things like that. But I think we're playing into it. Standards are crucial. I mean, we hear a lot about EU regulatory standards and in relation to beef and things like that.
Because I presume these kind of industrial operations, I presume they're working under regulation and stuff and inspection and they must be passing that in some way because these are big operations.
Yeah, well, you would like to think so. No, I'm not sure about the beef that's going to flow in from South America with Mercosur and that. Will they be subject to the same standards? But
Phil Hogan in the Farmers Journal this week assuring us that is going to be the case.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah,
they're going to break things done by the 3rd of September. I just love to know why they failed miserably for over the last 40 years and suddenly in a couple of months they're going to put all the wrongs to right.
Oh, don't go cynical.
You cynic.
I shouldn't have gone there, Fran. I shouldn't have gone there.
You've opened up a can of worms. All right, let me take a break. We'll be back with the panel.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie. Tip Today, in association with Slattery's of Puckon, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to our Friday panel. And Thomas Conway is with us, Brenda Murphy and Imelda Walsh. And one of our listeners wants Brenda to promise he's not going to do any more dreadful puns before the...
Brenda, will you please promise us?
Yeah, I think I'm all out.
Please.
Oh, Lord. Somebody else saying, regarding Nina, that you can't not even walk down during the day because there's always a fight somewhere and not a guard in sight. And to be honest, many people in the shoplifting and also that's somebody with a rather a poor enough version of the town. I don't see that around the town, I have to say. But Brendan, is a fair comment?
There has been in recent weeks, even there has been a number of incidents. There was the one by the library, I think, there last week.
There was, yeah.
It was at the school, you know, and it was pretty full on. It was pretty horrific. Weapons were used as well. So I mean, it's becoming more popular and more common around the place. And people are concerned and people are worried. So I can relate to what that listener is saying.
Interesting. Let us finish with this one, though, because a motion was passed by Cork County Council calling on the Minister for Education to make the teaching and singing of Around the Bhíon a compulsory part of the weekly school curriculum in primary and secondary schools across the country. Now, members backed the proposal from the end to Councillor Peter O'Donoghue, who spoke to me on the show. The proposal comes as Ireland marks the 100th anniversary of the adoption of Around the Bhíon as the national anthem. What do you think of the proposal? Imelda, do you want that first of all? What do you think of that?
Sure, I have huge pride in our national anthem. I love it. I would have thought that it would be taught in primary schools and secondary schools. I would be disappointed to think otherwise. It's part of who we are. It was a huge, we'll say, step in our history. It started off, I suppose, the background that was originally, it was in English. Patrick Carney and his friend Patrick Keedy, was it his name?
I can't remember who wrote the music.
Patrick Carney wrote the words and he put the music to it. And then Liam Ring in 1923 translated it into Irish and it was adopted in 1926. It's a huge part of who we are. I would definitely be embracing and wanting it to be taught in the schools. I don't feel you should have to make it compulsory, because I would have taken it as a given.
Yes.
That it's our history. We are Irish. This is who we are, and everything else was saying that.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me that in Canada, Canada would be a very liberal country, would say, but they start the school day with the anthem.
Yeah, with the anthem, yeah. And why should? Because if any of us are at a match or a sporting event or whatever it may be, and the play are on the V, will you feel the hair standing on the back of your neck with pride, absolute pride?
Most people don't know the words of it properly.
But they understand the sentiment and our whole history associated with it. And I suppose the fact that the GA in 1933 embraced it, and it's certainly put out there front and foremost. And Fran, I'm sure you'd remember this, will say back in the dance halls before, like the night always finished with the national anthem.
We still do that.
And I think that is fabulous.
Yeah.
I absolutely think it's fabulous. We'll say
Thomas,
that.
what about making it compulsory though in the school, particularly with the diverse classrooms that we have now?
I'm not sure I would be for making it compulsory, but I'm definitely I would be very surprised to learn that children weren't being taught Aránavín in primary school.
No, they're not. No.
Yeah, I think it's a crucial component of our history.
It's kind of bloodthirsty though. If you see the
English translation, a soldier song, isn't it? Yeah,
and the Brits come out badly. They do. Saxon foe.
Yes, yeah. But I mean that is it's an element of our history, and I think it should be encouraged. It's also a part of learning Irish. Learning it off Gaeilge. I remember back in school, as far as I can recall, we learned it in primary school.
Yeah.
Now, one of my friends was from France. We had a go at La Marseillaise, the French anthem.
It's a gorgeous anthem.
Which is a gorgeous anthem, and there are a couple of very striking national anthems out there. But I'd be making it compulsory now. I'm not sure. I don't think we should be forced into children should be forced into anything. But I think I would encourage the teaching of it and the singing of it. You encounter the GA games, and it's a big part of the occasion.
What do you figure about that? To the people who don't know the words of it, of course, this would help, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Our classrooms are more diverse now as well, and I think, making it compulsory, I don't see any harm in it, to be honest. I think everybody should be taught it.
Even people coming in from other countries here, and
they're living here, and I think it's part of our heritage.
Embrace that,
embrace our culture, embrace our heritage. I went to school in the CBS primary school in Nina, and in third class, the great Eamon Dillon taught us the national anthem, and also Slieve Lemon. So we were all we could all sing it at the end of the year. But there was no harm in it. It didn't do anybody any harm. We know it obviously now. Some of the words might be a bit sketchy with me now, but absolutely, it wouldn't do anybody any harm. So I'd see no issue with making it compulsory and having it taught.
So you wouldn't mind it being compulsory?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
My concern with compulsory is if you start making things have you kind of lost it if you have to make it compulsory? Yeah. But I would be disappointed that they wouldn't be doing it. Yeah. I would have thought, like we say, for any event that's within the school, we're saying that for anyone visiting the school, that our Aránavín, it's part of who we are. And even in relation to the words, because I've looked at it in both the English and the Irish, and it was at a time when, our history and a history that we fought to get back our own sovereignty and everything else, and I certainly wouldn't have any issue in relation to us because
people from overseas that are in the classrooms who can opt out of Irish. Is it an issue there?
I don't think so, because like we say,
do it phonetically.
They can, exactly. And sometimes when you're doing something, when you're singing something, we'll say the language isn't as big an issue as it is maybe in relation to the spoken word. We'll say, because you see performers performing with abroad, we'd say in other countries where English isn't the first language, and
because there's so much different ethnicity in our classes. I think this would actually get them all together, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it could. Yeah,
unify.
That's the line of argument as well. Yeah. And bring people together. It certainly might. I'm wondering, looking down the line, in the event of a united Ireland, will Aránavín endure? That whole question.
So long as it's not Ireland's call.
Yeah, well, I think that's. He was probably unanimous here.
There's probably fear that are we losing some of our culture, and do we need to keep these traditions alive? And do we need to make it compulsory in order to make it live on, because we're opting out of everything else, and the Irish language is thinning out as well. We're losing a lot of our culture, and Is this something we need to do?
I would have thought
there's no harm in it. It's a song, but it is.
And sadly, we haven't time to tease that out. But do you really believe that? Are we losing a lot? And if so, why are we losing?
I think so, and I suppose the community and society is becoming more diverse, which is good. You're bringing more people in, but we need to embrace our Irishness as well. And people coming to Ireland need to embrace it because they're living here. But we need to keep it alive.
I thought our Irish is making a fantastic resurgence in respect of it. Like everybody wants to speak the couple of focal off.
Do you really believe that, or is that just
no? And it was no. I don't think so, Fran. I think we say. I think we saw it in particular even during the Catherine Connolly presidency. We say in the whole. We say last year and everything else. And all these young people were saying that, and they're speaking of Gaeilge, and there's lots of would say influencers, and they're doing the bit of Irish. I would love to be a native speaker. I don't, but I do the notes for our local parish. But every week I try to put in a couple of sentences as Gaeilge. Something that I know people are going, there's no point writing the whole piece. Will say I wouldn't be able to write it first. I'd be doing Google Translate. But I do like, if it was a team, Concordia, say whoever was saying that, just some little thing always will say that because I think it's important.
Just a final word on it, Thomas, because I'm more or less out of time. But that notion that we're losing a lot, or that we're giving away a lot in terms of culture to maybe not offend people or to
I think you're right, Brendan. I think we are losing elements of our culture, and I think it's very important that we recognise those elements and actually celebrate them. And I think the Irish language is the obvious one. For years, you've people going through school and they're still not able to speak Irish. We really have to encourage that. And in fairness, there are influencers out there. I'm thinking of that How to Gael podcasts, etc., who are promoting and championing the Irish language. And
fair play. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Imelda. And thanks, Brendan. Excellent
Brendan.
panel. And thank you very much indeed for that. We have indeed. We have an overall winner of our €200 voucher for Mr. Menswear. That's Billy Downey in Kerr. Well done to you, Billy. And enjoy spending that. Lots coming into us. Sadly, we don't have time to go through it. Leanne produced. Stephen has the time tunnel on the lunchtime show. And I'll talk to you on Monday. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.